Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was great, and you dovetailed nicely into what the science that Dr. Whitty presented. And our next speaker is Representative Domingo DeGrazia, and he's going to talk about the privacy issues related to all these towers and the Internet of Things. And so, take it away, Representative DeGrazia.
Thank you, Representative Powers-Handley, and hello, everybody. My name is Domingo DeGrazia. I'm a rep for LD10 here in Tucson, and I'm an attorney, and I'm also a certified information privacy professional. So where I come into the intersection of 5G is at the data and data privacy side. Now, we know that data is essentially the new oil. That's where a lot of revenue is coming from, both from data aggregators, but there's a kind of a nefarious side to data, and that comes from nation-state actors that are collecting data about all of us. So one thing that we need to recognize when we're looking at data transfers is that digital information is coming from essentially everywhere. Digital information is coming from your phone, from the GPS on your phone, from the apps that you open, from your smart TV that's in your house. It's tracking when you watch and what you watch. The smart electric meter on your house that monitors your electricity sends out digital information about where and when you're using different appliances in your house, the heating, the AC, the dishwasher, the washing machine. All of those can be, I guess, extrapolated by a granular look at the power usage. The problem is that those bits of information reveal information about where we are, whether we're home and the AC is off, things of that nature. So there's a concern. And then we have things like smartwatches. And what really comes home is, say in, I believe it was 2018, Fitbit watches were banned from US military bases because the geolocation data that was coming off of those Fitbits was could be aggregated. Not only could folks look at the history of data of where people were going and figure out where US personnel were spending their time, what their daily routines were, but they were also getting information about the internals of some of our structures within military bases that were off limits to everybody else, but through the data that was coming out of the Fitbits, that information was being out in the open. And the same thing with consumer drones, the little drone helicopters that kids fly. The nation-state actors that own those companies were aggregating data, and the concern was that information about our electric grid, information about our power stations, information about our train bridges, that kind of stuff was going to different countries. So when we fast forward to 5G, you start looking at the rollout of 5G in, say, Europe and Britain with the company Huawei. And the concern that's raised there is on the component side, the supply chain for building out these 5G towers. Who has access to the components, who makes the components, and how do we know where the information is going? Because one of the biggest concerns that we have is having countries, nation-state actors, in the backbone of our data transmission system. Now, there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of high-speed data transmission. And we have GPS location that can be used in smart cars. We have healthcare benefits that can be used by our IoT devices like pacemakers, things of that nature, and having granular looks at how those are working. But there's a nefarious side. When you think about microchips that go into 5Gs, a lot of time you have a compilation of chips and components such that we're not clear on who is the manufacturer of each level of components in there and where the information might be going. This is largely what you see leading up to the stoppage of use of Huawei in Britain and in the US. And that is one of the major concerns. Obviously, all of our data that is everything about our daily lives is it is now becoming a way to monetize what we do and where we live. And having folks have access to that is a huge concern. So one of the things that I'm working on and looking at continuously is the cyber side of things and the privacy element of 5G and data transmission, and making sure that we know where our data is going, who has access to it, and making sure that it's not being used for nefarious purposes. And I will just close out with a reference to that kind of overarching idea of data privacy. Remember that we have a lot of cameras that are in our homes, either in our laptops, cameras that are on the outside of our houses, on businesses. The better transmission of data means more of those cameras that can be accessed via the internet, means that it's easier for both governments and private actors to find out where we're going and what we're doing and actually track us. Now that comes into facial recognition technology that can process a huge amount of data about our images and then collate that to images that we put up voluntarily, like on Facebook, on LinkedIn, those kind of things. And one of the big concerns with having this huge volume of data out there is the privacy of the individual. In Arizona, it is a right that's written into our Constitution, but keeping a handle on that is going to be, it's definitely tricky, especially when things like smart cities come on board and there are connections to every wireless mesh network in the city that's tracking the individual location of your phone and where we go. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer those now or move on to our next speaker. Thanks.